Welcome, welcome, Wildly Wonders, to another episode of the Go Wildly podcast, where we dive into the stories of people whose lives are rooted in the outdoors. I'm Heather, and together with my co-host Emily, we talk to the guides, the dreamers, and the dirt-covered doers who've built their lives around the wild, whether they found it young or it found them later and never let go. Each episode uncovers the moment that changed everything, the spark that turned a simple love of nature into a calling, a career, or a full-blown obsession. From river rapids to mountain ridgelines, we follow that thread that connects childhood wonder to adult purpose. If you're drawn to stories of adventure, resilience, and what it means to live life outside, you're in the right place. So grab your coffee, your paddle, or your hiking boots, and let's go wildly together.
Hi, everybody. Hi. Welcome back to Go Wildly podcast. We are on the beautiful Rogue River today, just below the Stratton Bridge, and I'm doing just a really easy, mellow float with our friend Zac here. It's a nice, cloudy, overcast October fall day on the Rogue. A little chilly, but pretty reasonable, actually.
Pretty pleasant.
Yeah.
It's nice. I like it.
It's perfect. We're joined today with our friend Zac Kauffman. He is the CEO of Sawyer Paddles and Oars. If you spend any time on a river anywhere in at least the United States, you're probably familiar with Sawyer Paddles and Oars. They are the premier wooden paddle and oar company in the country. They've been around for over 50 years, and Zac is the current co-owner and CEO.
And not only that, but he hosts a podcast.
He also hosts a podcast.
Yes, sir.
What is the official title of your podcast?
So the official title of our podcast is the Sawyer on Water podcast.
Awesome. And Zac has been a rafter for over 30 years. He's been a ski instructor, and now he's working patroller. Excellent. Great clarification.
There's a little difference.
Yeah, big difference. And now he's working in selling paddles and oars and getting people connected to the river and connected to river community, and is really aligned in the Go Wildly mission and ethos of sharing stories, sharing river stories, and capturing these life-changing experiences that people have outside, and promoting more of those. So
welcome.
Yeah,
my
welcome,
arm is
Zac.
already dying.
Nice.
The battery's already dying?
No, my arm.
Oh, okay. That we can deal with. We can deal with both of them, but
I think you might want to go to the other side because we do have road right here above us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll paddle over to a nice little spot. Well, Zac, do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are, where you came from, and how you ended up here today?
Absolutely. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Heather, for having me here. As you said, my name is Zac Kauffman, and I am the CEO of Sawyer Paddles and Oars, but more importantly, I am a 50% partner owner of the company. And our company is fairly unique in the sense that we are just getting started on entering our 59th year of operations. So we're looking forward to year 60. And currently we have an equal partnership ownership. And so I am on the admin side. That means I work with the sales team, marketing team, and my job is really to generate buzz and information about our product and help get those products sold. My partner works on the manufacturing side. So he runs the manufacturing crew that is right there based in Talon, Oregon. And our inside line with each other is he builds it and I sell it.
Ooh,
and that's kind of how we operate. And it's been working pretty good so far. And it's really, it's unique when you have a business where you're 50-50 partners because everything is equally split between the two of us.
Yeah. Relatable. And how did you find yourself at Sawyer?
Well, I was actually a Sawyer customer way before I was working at Sawyer. And as you mentioned, most folks that are on the river all the time do know of Sawyer. And, I was an outfitter for many, many years. And of course, I used a lot of the Sawyer product, and we had the benefit of just going over to the Sawyer factory at that time and picking out, what you needed to get from the Sawyer lineup. And I learned right away that, when I went over there, the owner at the time, Bruce Bergstrom, liked to get a little intel. He liked to chat with you. He liked to hear what was going on, how his product was performing and all that. And so I was kind of like, okay, this is kind of a thing that we should engage in. So I started making sure that whenever we were picking up Sawyer product for our company, I would be the one to go over there. And I always cleared my afternoon. There was you could not have, if you had a doctor's appointment at 3, you didn't go to Sawyer at 2. You needed to have a clear, open schedule because, if Bruce wanted to chat and wanted you to tell him about something on the river and give you some product feedback, it was in your best interest to just sit there and chat and tell him about it. And through doing that over the years of just being a Sawyer customer, I got to know Bruce, and he would give us product sometime to demo and be like, hey, take this out and try it because I made it, but nobody's trying it and I don't know really why. And then I would take it and try it, and other people would see us, and then those products would kind of start to move along. And so kind of one thing led to another, and I moved away from guiding based right in the Rogue Valley, and I was moved down here to the lower Rogue, and so I wasn't seeing Bruce as often, but he was had been there for quite a few years, and he was getting ready to sell the company. And lo and behold, my name ended up on a short list.
And, of who he would be willing to sell it to.
Well, no, actually, he didn't sell to me. He sold to somebody else, but they were looking for people to manage.
Okay.
And so that's kind of where I got started.
Cool. Excuse me for a moment, everybody. I am going to set us up on a little rock.
Absolutely.
So we can get full effect.
Is the phone tripod going to be?
Is our contraption in the way?
Well, I'll figure it out here.
We could turn sideways.
Yeah, we could spin the boat here.
Yeah.
Still got that little road noise.
Sand, you are my bitch lover. Oh, look at us.
How's that?
Awesome that is. I like it. Okay, shall I mess with it? I'm just a little scared it might tipple topple.
Do you want something at its foot?
Yeah, I think so, because it might
stabilize it.
Yeah, oops. Oh, wonderful idea. Ooh. Perfection. Oh, yes. Cool.
Happy?
I'm happy with that.
Awesome. So you've been working on rivers, working around rivers, working for rivers for over 30 years. How did you find the river?
So basically I grew up on the Illinois River and never actually did any rafting, never went on the river, never thought of rafting on the river. And then I went to Southern Oregon State College at that time in Ashland, Oregon, when I graduated from high school, and I was actually just
since you're talking in this
talked into doing that by some friends of mine.
You were talked into going to college?
I was talked into going to college. So I basically was working for my father. Back in the 80s, you could graduate early if you had fulfilled all your requirements. And so I had graduated early, and I had a job, full-time job, working for my father in pole barn construction and fence construction. And my friends were still in school, and they were pretty good football players, big guys, and I was not a really good football player. I was not a big guy, but we were a really small school, and so everybody that wanted to play could play. And they got recruited to go to Southern Oregon State. So I went with them on one recruitment trip that they went on, and came back and told my mom, I think I might go to college. And so she put everything together, and I headed off to school with the guys on the football team. Even though they thought that I could play on the football team too, I surely told them that that was not going to happen, and they were actually recruiting you to play football, but I will go just because it sounds like it's something I should do. And so I went to school there, and the second year in, I was, of course, trying to find ways to make ends meet, and I had a work-study job that I could get, and so I looked through the work-study jobs that were available and saw this one for the outdoor program, and I was like, what's that? That sounds interesting. I went down there and talked to them. They're like, yeah, well, we have all this gear here, and we basically rent it out to college students and affiliates with the college, and then, you know, all throughout the various seasons, we do outings for the college kids. I'm like, oh, that sounds good. Interesting. So I started working there, and, you know, it was just like literally I'd work there from like 2 to 5 on a couple days a week, and I just would rent gear to various people. And then the spring came around, and started noticing that there were like all these river trips that were organized. And I was like, huh, okay. And the manager at the time, she's like, yeah, so I'm a big river runner, so we're going to do a lot of river trips in the spring, and you should go on at least a few of them. And so that was kind of how I got it started. I went on the very first river trip that I ever did was a 4-day Lower Rogue trip with the college in May, and I believe my total cost was $65.
Woohoo!
Wow.
And so you gotta love college outdoor programs, and that is pretty much what began everything for me. I started doing, you know, there were river trips every year, and through my college years, I ended up being a manager at the outdoor rec program there, at the outdoor program, and found out that they actually operate as a river company in the summertime, and they would take groups that would come to stay at the college. So like they would take elder hostel folks and take them on a raft trip. They would take foreign exchange groups that would come in, and international studies groups that come in, and, you know, the cheerleading camp and the band camp and all these places that would come to the college. Part of the things that were offered through the stay at the college was a day river trip. So that's how I began. And then, of course, when I was managing it, we had access to all these boats. They had their boathouse probably had about 10 boats. And so I had access to all these different rafts, and anytime I wasn't working, I would just take them out and use them, and we would just go trial and error ourselves on Nugget and Powerhouse, and running inflatable kayaks through Nugget and swimming out the bottom, running inflatable kayaks through Powerhouse and swimming the bottom drop multiple times. And we were kind of just learning through the series of hard knocks, but we learned the skills. And then commercial companies would call us every once in a while when they had really big days, and said, hey, you know, can you come guide for us? And it was actually Noah Haig that told me one day, he said, yeah, you outdoor program guys, you know, you're willing, but we don't really know what your training level is. And I was like, hey, you hired me, so I'm ready to go. And that's how I got started. And then one thing led to another, and one of the outfitters called me one summer and said, hey, how would you like to come to work for me full time? And so I did.
I love that.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. Were your parents outdoor inclined beyond building pole barns?
So my parents were not outdoor inclined. There was no camping. There was no family river trips. There were no events like that when I was growing up as a child. I grew up in a family of 6 kids, and back in the 70s and late 60s, early 70s, We lived on a commune for a year. We lived in a circus tent for a couple of years. And so we basically were living camping. And then of course I got, thrusted into public school, and we were kind of the kids that kind of came from the Illinois Valley, Tacoma area. We were kind of known as the hippie kids. And growing up through that time period, there was a lot of change going on. And, in high school, people were accepting, and all the kids from Tacoma, we played on the football team with everybody. And, we built a lot of friends and alliances, and never really did any camping, skiing, rafting, none of that. That wasn't part of our lifestyle at all.
Not as recreation.
Not as recreation, not as
living
anything.
it.
We were just basically, my parents actually built the 5-bedroom log cabin that they live in right now, and I helped with that when I was growing up. And so I've lived on the Illinois River for a good portion of my life, but there wasn't any rafting or recreation that came about until I moved away to Ashland, Oregon.
Growing up in that lifestyle, would you say that it was definitely like a hippie lifestyle?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I mean, it was, I was really little with the communal living, so I don't really remember much about that. But yeah, I mean, we were pretty much, we were little hippie kids. I had long hair down to the middle of my back. I remember that when we started playing on the football team, the football coach told us, all the kids that had long hair, it's like, part of the rule is you have to get your hair cut to where it doesn't hang out of the helmet. And I look at college and professional athletes now, and they got these big old dreads hanging out there and just this flowing locks of hair, and I'm just like, wow, things have really changed.
The risk, though, they're choosing to do that, they're accepting the risk.
Yeah,
You're a child.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Coach is a little more responsible for any damage that might happen to you.
Playing sports in the early 80s in the Illinois Valley, the equipment is not really what it is today. And yeah, it was just kind of one of those things. It was like, I played football, I played baseball. I was not good at either one, but I was loud. So I was the captain of the football team, but I was not a great player. Just because I was loud. I could get the guys to listen, but I was not a big guy. But it was more of a social thing, and just being part of what was going on in school.
Did you know the Krauses?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we grew up with Jennifer Kraus, Philippi now. Her daughter Anna was our best friends growing up. So
yeah, everybody
together.
Everybody
connections.
in the Illinois Valley knows the Kaufmans and knows the Krauses.
Yeah.
Just one of those things.
Totally, that's cool.
They got streets named after them.
Right.
They do. Yes.
My father is the unofficial mayor of Tacoma,
cool.
and because Tacoma is not an actual city, so it doesn't have a mayor. But if you ask anybody in Tacoma who's the mayor, that's Delbert.
Wow,
Delbert
Kaufman.
Delbert Kaufman, the mayor of Tacoma.
Awesome.
Does he go by Dale or Delbert?
He goes by Delbert.
Cool.
Yeah.
Love that. That's cool. Well.
But yeah.
What does river time look like for you these days?
So these days, I am still a river rat at heart. I do get invited on a lot of trips. I try and take as many as possible, but running a company does get in the way at times. But I try and do at least a couple Lower Rogue trips every year. I try and get on the Illinois. I was fortunate enough to get on the new stretch of the Klamath River through Ward Canyon. Just a gem, such a treat to have that water back up and available. And and of course we provide oars to a lot of the outfitting community. So I continue to keep those relationships and bonds with the outfitters that we provide to. And if I have time, I reach out to them and be like, hey, if you got a trip going, I'd like to tag along. And
Cool.
and I've boated with enough of them that they know that that I can get the boat down the river. And that's the biggest
You're
thing.
not a liability.
You know, I mean, I taught people how to run the river for many, many years. And the first time I started going down the river with some of the outfitters as the owner of Sawyer, and I just noticed I'd look downriver and see that every time they get through a big rapid, they're looking over their shoulder at me, and I'm like, oh, they're checking me out and see if I know what I'm doing. But
They're testing you.
it just tested me. But if you keep, if you're in the right spot all the time, they stop looking. And after a while, they're like, all right, you got it.
Then they're looking back to see, oh, did he do it any different than
Right.
I need to
What route
learn
did he
from
choose? Where did he go? But yeah.
And you host a podcast, like we mentioned before. Can you give us a little, like, your, we talked briefly, but mission and the kind of people you interview, and that seems to be a really big passion. As we just went through an interview where we got interviewed on his podcast, we're kind of doing this day thing, which was really cool. So hopefully they'll come out, hopefully in sync, but maybe we'll see. So anyways, tell us a little bit more about that.
So basically
how it started.
the whole bit was that we have a lot of boat builders and kind of niche industries that we provide to. And where the whole origination of it is that we needed our boat builders, which are mainly builders of hard boats, various versions of a drift boat, either by fiberglass or by wood and polymer or by aluminum. Like, we need them to kind of give their story and their recommendation. And so we had a person that we were working closely with, and he was a content creator on his own realm, and he was traveling around the country. And I was like, what if we put together a series of questions and had you interview these boat builders on just what their operation is and why they build the boats they do, and what oars would they recommend? Because that's one of the challenges that we always get is people call us up because we make the oars, and they're like, I have a boat of blah, 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 blah. What size oar should I get? And it's like, well, you bought the boat from these guys and you paid them tons of money. Maybe ask them what oars you should get. But so we kind of started it with that premise. And then one of the interviews that we did was with Jim Biddle, who was the owner of Willie Boats at the time. And I went over and participated in that interview, and that interview took on a real historic perspective, because as many of the folks that watch our podcast know, is that the reason that Sawyer makes oars is because of Billy Illingsworth, the founder of Willie Drift Boats.
Wow.
And the way that story goes is literally Ralph Sawyer started building paddles in 1967, not very far from here in the little town of Rogue River. And he was building paddles. He was a canoe racer, a marathon canoe racer, which is not even something that many people here in the West even know exists. But that was Ralph's passion. And he was part of a canoe company. He was partners in Sawyer Canoes. And he thought he was just going to branch out on his own and build paddles for Sawyer Canoes, and that would be his thing. Well, he got out here to the West and realized that rivers like the Rogue are quite a bit steeper than the lakes that he was used to paddling back east. And so he was like, okay, well, I'm not going to build canoes. I'm not going to stay involved in the canoe partnership. I'm just going to go ahead and focus on building paddles. So he started building wooden paddles, and shortly after that, Billy Illingsworth starts building drift boats. And Billy Illingsworth was very persistent and pesky, I would say. And he knew that Ralph was building paddles, and he knew that he needed oars if he was going to get this drift boat concept off the ground. And so he started going out and just spending some time with Ralph and be like, hey, Ralph, you think you could build some paddles? You think you can build oars for me? This paddle you make is 60 inches long. Maybe if you just make it 9 feet, it'll be just right for me, and I can use it as an oar. Well, Ralph said no a couple times. But I have continually been fact-checking this folklore, and literally the peskiness and persistence of Billy Illingsworth is the sole reason that Sawyer builds oars.
Wow.
Because finally Ralph is just like, all right, stop coming here and visiting me every month and bugging me about building oars. I'll build you some oars. And so he started building oars. We built an oar that's called the Sawyer Light. People can still find it today in our lineup, and
My favorite oar.
that was the original. That was your father's oar, and that was the original oar that basically Sawyer started making back in kind of probably late 60s, early 70s. I think the first production run was probably 1970, and that's where it all began. So when we were doing all these interviews, I was like, oh, this is really fitting. We need to do an interview with Jim Biddle, who is basically the owner of Willie Drift Boats, because Billy Illingsworth had already passed. So we do this long interview with Jim, and
Not knowing that you're going to start a podcast.
not knowing we were going to start a podcast. Our whole intent was that we were going to basically make these documentary things available and make a boat builder page so that there would be this historic element and more content about these boat builders. And so we kind of do that, and we roll through COVID and several things go on. And then about 2 years later, I'm kind of like looking through all of our media, and I'm like, we have like 10 interviews already here sitting in a file, and we haven't done anything with them. And I'm like, maybe we don't need to make a boat builder page. Maybe we need to make a podcast. And the thing that kind of triggered it on a little further is that this is not out yet either, but we got approached by the team from public television, national public television, and there is a documentary series that is hosted by Andy Garcia, and it's called All Access. And right before last Christmas, we get a random call to our retail store, and the retail person reaches out to me and like, I don't know what this is, but you might want to follow up on it. This lady says she's with All Access, hosted by Andy Garcia. She wants to talk to you. I don't know what it's about. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. So I call the lady back, and she's like, oh, hi, this is so-and-so with All Access. And this is what we do, and we have this project, and we think you guys would be a great candidate for it. And so I'm like, oh, well, tell me more. And so she kind of runs through their whole spiel, and I answer all these questions. I have this hour-and-a-half interview with her, and she says, okay, well, I have all the information I need. We basically are vetting you and 2 other groups, and we will submit our findings to the leadership team. And there's another group that's out there vetting 3 other companies, and they're going to submit their findings. And I'm like, oh, okay, fine. I don't think much of it. The next day, she's like, well, Zach, I just want to let you know our team has met, and out of the 3 companies that we have interviewed and vetted, you're our choice. So we're going to submit you as our choice to the vice president. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. So at that point, like, we're going into the holidays. Like this is like the Friday before Christmas, and we are having like our company holiday party, and the guys are only working till like noon, and then we're going to shut down and we're going to have this big party. And I'm like in the office talking with my partner. I'm like, we should probably talk a little bit about this, because this kind of came about and it might be real. And so we talked a little bit, and I'm like, kind of like, if it comes about and if we get chosen, my thought is that we have to do it.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
And so there was a monetary consideration that we had to do, and he's kind of like, yeah, I mean, that's your realm, but yeah, it sounds like if we
had to pay to be part of it?
You have to pay a small fee. I mean, you literally get about $250,000 production, but you have to pay a little something so they know you're invested in it.
Okay.
And so,
I know it'll be the other way around.
Yeah.
It's a marketing
Right.
piece, but so I'm like, yeah, okay, we're going to do it. And she's like, okay, well, sign this letter of intent that you're up for moving forward if you get chosen. And I'm like, I don't think any of it. And the very next day, I think, or that night, later on Friday, I get an email back from Stephanie, and she's like, you were pitched to the VP. The VP has decided that he wants you guys. And she's like, can you meet with us on the Monday before Christmas? And I'm like, yeah, okay. And so I'm like, I do this interview with the VP of the company, and he's kind of like, well, I just have a few questions that I need to ask you, because I want to clear up some things and see, if this is really something, but we're very excited about, having you part of this whole episode. And so he's, one of the main questions he wanted to ask is like, is Ralph Sawyer still alive? And I'm like, yeah, Ralph Sawyer's still alive. And he's like, will he participate? And I'm like, absolutely not. Ralph Sawyer has made it very clear that he will not do any audio, no video. He will not talk to anybody. I told him, I said, he answers questions for me via email through his wife, and that's it. And then that's where Bruce Bergstrom came in, and I said, but I do think I have the next best thing. And that's like, Bruce Bergstrom is the guy who bought the company from Ralph, and I think he would participate. And so that whole thing kind of comes about. We go through all of the rigmarole, and it was like crazy. Like we literally agreed to make it happen right before Christmas. The first week of the year, we're getting all these documents, all these legal documents. I'm like wading through all these shoot documents. I'm just like, oh, what have we gotten into?
Our interview agreement was much more basic.
I was like, oh, wow. And then I'm like, I sign all these legal documents, and I send it back. And then I get like this 12-page questionnaire on the company. And it's just like, just question after question. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I just weed through all of this and get it all submitted. And then that wasn't the exploration. That was like another team. That was like the vetting, the actual vetting team. And then she's like, okay, well, that's my part. It's all complete now. And now I'm going to turn you over to this person. Dang. And so then I get turned over to this other person, and they're like, okay, well, we just need to, load up whatever raw videos you have and send us all the stuff you have and all the files. Like I'm the preliminary producer, and they like look at everything, and then they're like, okay, then the vice president of production will get a hold of you next, and this will be in a couple months. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And then at one point, I think the vice president of production gets a hold of me, and she's like, so what's the timeline like? Like you want to, let's see if we can get this out, in the summertime.
Hold on a minute, guys. This is kind of a fun little.
Ooh, we've got a
put a pin.
Fire helicopter flying over us. Wonder where they're
gonna dip.
Yeah, where they're coming from, where they're going. There is
an active fire,
but like 50 miles downstream.
Well,
kind of crazy that they fly for so long with the bucket hanging, that they don't like scoop it up into the helicopter belly until they're gonna drop it. That it's just this like
it's the easier way to carry it.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way to transport, and it's coming from Erickson Sky Crane, so it's probably just flying from Central Point straight to the fire, and this just happens to be the flight path.
Yeah, the path of least resistance, coming from service or cool.
Wow, I like to put those little snippets in there.
Yeah. I'll pick it back up where we were, and so I get moved on to the next phase, and finally the VP of production reaches out. She kind of goes through all the bit, and she's like, okay, pick out of your calendar when you want to shoot. And I'm like, well, we need to shoot out on the river, so I don't want it to be too early. Like we kind of we're gonna make a date, so we settle on June 3rd. And I'm like, June 3rd, that'll work, So I rally up all the community. I get a bunch of people participated. We had like 9 boats on the river. We do. And then I basically set the storyline with them, and I get Bruce Bergstrom to come give the historic piece. I get Will Volper from Indigo to come give the outfitter piece. I get Link Jackson he was a previous owner of Stream Tech Boats, and he's one of the founding partners of the Artisan series that we do, which is a custom artwork that goes into oars, and then a percentage of those oars go into river conservation. And so we have this lineup of all of our interviews. It's me, it's Link, Bruce, and Will. We set up 2 different studios at Sawyer Station. We shoot half of the interviews one view, then we switch and shoot half the interviews the other view. And then the afternoon, we basically go on the river and shoot. And I'm asking the vice president of production, like, this is shot outside. Like, what's the normal procedure? And she's like, no matter what, June 3rd is the shoot date, no matter what. And I'm just kind of like, wow, okay. Yeah. So this could be a total rainstorm.
Yeah.
And so the day comes, we have everything orchestrated. It's gorgeous weather, beautiful, sunny June day.
This was just this last year?
Just this last year. And so now we have gone through our first edit. We're in the final edit, and I don't know when it's going to come out, but at some point in the near future, we will be featured on All Access as this company here in Southern Oregon. And just doing that little bit and having Bruce participate in it, and Link and Will, I was kind of like, there's a lot of important people that we have a contact with. And we just I started realizing, like, wait a minute, maybe we're the continuity to all of this. And that's what I was telling you at the put in, is like, literally we have folks that will grant us an interview and talk about a lot of concepts where they don't necessarily talk to somebody else who granted us an interview, but trying to just bring their stories to our audience and to a greater audience. And we kind of settled on the podcast bit because we kind of figure that, you know, we live in this 30-second snippet land. And like, we can do 30-second snippets all day long. And yes, we'll get a lot of people to view them and like them, but will they really learn more about the company, or will they really get, you know, interested in buying our product or not? And so we thought about the podcast idea is like, yeah, they may not watch the 30-minute to 40-minute video, but if they're driving somewhere, they'll listen to the whole thing. And so that's what we did. And we put it together, launched on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. And in turn, even on Apple, where our ratings and rankings are going up. And we know Apple's all audio. Spotify is video as well as audio. And YouTube, of course, is video as well.
What was your launch date?
We launched... I don't even know exactly when the first one is. I'm sure we could look it up, but I think we started in April.
Us too.
We did too.
Yeah. So we started in April, and we had, like, literally the first ones, we started in April. We had, like I said, this whole backlog of them. So all I had to do is, we had the backlog. I just had to do, we set up, we had to do outros and intros for all of them, because basically I had them all sit there. So I have literally all this audio stuff in my house, and I sit down and do outro intros for various podcasts when I have the time. And I am the backlog right now on several episodes, because I still have to do an outro and an intro for them, so they can actually get cut and be ready to go. So, but yeah, that's kind of how it all happened.
Just checking everything in. Battery's doing good.
Good.
That's with this, we got to really monitor.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
That's so cool. I love that. Very, very intentional, but also very organic, circumstantial creation of this podcast effort, and how really aligned it is with our ethos and our story of wanting to capture these stories of people who spend time outside and who are passionate about their craft and about the outdoors. And we like to bring in guests who aren't just outdoor professionals, but are outdoor enthusiasts.
Absolutely.
This is how they choose and prefer to spend their time, whether they're getting paid to do it or not.
Right.
This is the place that they feel most alive, most at home, most connected, most themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah, anywhere from the, mushroom hunters,
foraging,
to wildland firefighters, and
yeah. And that's been so cool about doing this work, is the expanse of ways that people commune with the outdoors. And even one of our most recent episodes, he's a baseball coach and grew up doing baseball, and I had this like, oh yeah, baseball's an outdoor sport.
It is.
And you're
not much indoor baseball.
Yeah, you could, be in a batting cage kind of indoors, but if you're a baseball player, you're outside all the time. And it's different from being on the river, but it's still breathing fresh air and being in the elements. I mean, they're baseball, rain or shine.
Baseball and softball is huge. I mean, it's amazing. Like,
America's sport.
I drive by the the fields right there outside of Medford all the time, and it's like, at all hours.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
Yeah,
like
they're-
All
you know,
hours, all
9
weather. I've
o'clock,
seen them out
it's
there in the
just-
snow.
Yeah, there's people there constantly, and it's funny on my street. One of my neighbors down the street from me is a softball coach, and one of the neighbors up the street from me is a softball coach, and they play on different teams. And it's just kind of like, oh yeah, it's like that's their thing. And then they know me as the paddle guy because I drive the logoed van home, and they just see me running boats in and out of my garage all the time.
Yeah, do you live in Talent?
I actually don't live in Talent. I live in Phoenix, so I'm about 7 miles away from
The next best city.
That's right. That's right. One of the 2 cities that saw severe devastation in the Alameda fire.
Were you in that at all? Did you lose anything?
So we didn't lose a factory, and we didn't lose our own home. But it was a pretty wild time. We did have
Were you a lot of your staff?
we had some of our key staff. We had one of our key glasser and paddle builders lost his home. We raised money for the community through our network. We raised about $60,000 through just our connections in the industry, and
awesome.
and ran various, like we ran 2 active GoFundMe campaigns, one for just the home that was lost and one for the community in general. And we had all kinds of folks from the community, from our network, just donating products and stuff, like donating rain jackets and donating
Tents and sleeping
and just
bags
like all kinds of stuff, and just basically anything and everything you could do to just support that recovery effort. And it's coming back. You know, I mean, it's been under construction for quite a few years, but it's coming back.
Yeah, people are often so terrified of fire, and fire is devastating and impactful.
Yeah.
Whether it's like a rural wildfire, like wildland fire, or it's an urban wildfire. It's absolutely devastating, and at the same time, it gives an opportunity for things to come back, and in the urban sense, to be rebuilt in a smarter, potentially better, more intentional way that fits the way that the times are going now.
Oh yeah.
And I was on the city council in Talent at the time of the fire. And prior to the fire, we had been doing a lot of climate resilience work, thinking about if a fire happens, and there was absolutely no connection, completely circumstantial, but if a fire happens, how do we want to rebuild? What are going to be the building standards that we have that move us towards a future of better fire resilience, better climate resilience, more energy efficient, more energy conservation? And we had just adopted a plan for the city for that kind of new development, and then a fire came through and burned down a third of the town, and it was
you're like, okay,
terrible and devastating, and watching my friends' homes and lives burn away was heartbreaking. And also, wow, now they can build their dream home. Now we can, the visions that we've had for how we want these towns to come to life can be met because it's a blank slate and we can do anything.
A lot of challenges along the way, though.
The ultimate teacher, like that, like fire is the ultimate teacher of like, what is that? Like,
you're burn it down and build it back.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I always used to say like, non-attachment.
Yeah,
you know, like it's the ultimate teacher.
Fire is kind of cleansing.
Right.
It's kind of cleansing in the forest, but when it happens in the urban setting, I mean, it's just
rough.
like it's so where wildland fires are colliding with residential properties. That's the real devastation. It's just like how, you know, we have just grown. These towns have grown out into the wildland area, and it's just so that's kind of one of those things. But you know, it's like fire is kind of one of those things that yes, we can prepare for, but you cannot predict, and it's just like it's not something you have control over. And
just like nature,
and the stuff that happened here on the Lower Canyon, the fire that's active right now, you know, it's like the river guide that came by us earlier today, that, you know, they're like, the river opened back up, and it's like, the river's opened back up, and it's a great experience for for folks that are able to go, but also it's like the river opened back up, and if you read through that, it's like there is no stopping or camping from Mule Creek all the way to Foster Bar. So like you need to take your time and enjoy the river, because as soon as you get to Mule Creek, it is wheels up and head for the takeout.
Yeah.
And like
you better be camping at the ranch.
Yeah, no dilly-dallying around, as they say. You know, and that's kind of crazy, because, you know, a lot of people, they don't really think about, oh, can I do that? Do I camp that way? And it's like, actually, you know, I mean, if you have a lot of years on the river, you can realize that, like, yeah, I mean, you can easily roll out of Mariel Lodge and be to the takeout, no problem. And it's just like changing that mindset of like, okay, no, we need to push out the bottom.
Yeah. And being prepared for, I mean, the river is opened back up, but don't know how if there's logs in the river, if there's been landslides, if there's new rapids or changed rapids, or the route in a rapid is going to be different, and how that can change every single day. Yeah,
and one of the things on this statement is that you may need to be prepared to be evacuated or forced to take out at the Rogue River Ranch.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, okay, so the trip may change right there. If the fire changes its mind, then you are not going past that point.
And that's such a lesson of just being in the outdoors, being in the wild, is that one of my favorite quotes of my dad is, that's the thing about plans, they don't take into account reality.
Yep.
Things are changing all the time, and you have to be prepared and able to pivot for whatever the new circumstance and situation is. Don't be too rooted and embedded in how something is going to go, because there's no guarantee that it's going to go that way.
I like to just live my whole life by that.
Life,
career, like how we've, you know,
one trip really long ago, I was on the Illinois with a group of friends, and this was before a lot of the entrance to the green wall had changed. And it used to be that you would come down through that rapid entrance, and then you get into the eddy before you could enter into the green wall. And so we hiked down there, and we're scouting it. And there's a few kayakers with us, and we're like, and this buddy of mine is like, well, you know, what's the move here? I'm like, just come down the entrance rapid, but just get into that eddy. And I said, you know, the kayakers are going to be in there first. Just get into the eddy at the top. And he's like, okay, well, what if I don't make the eddy? I was like, no, that's not an option. Just get into the eddy. And so we come down, and he's like the third boat back, and a couple of us are in the eddy. All the kayakers are in the eddy, and he's coming down the rapid, and he's just a little further over to the right than anybody else was. And it's kind of like, ooh, you need to kind of move this way. And he's coming down, and we're all in the eddy kind of going, come on, work it, get over here. And at kind of almost like at a synchronized moment, we all just kind of went, you're going.
Too late now.
It was like, stop trying to come over here, because you are way over there. And so he got to run point.
And he had a clean run?
And he had a clean run. Everything worked out. And of course, you know, as soon as he shot past us, it was like, okay, he's going. 3 kayakers, boom, boom, boom. They all wheeled out. It's like, all right, we're going. No, don't wait for another boat's coming. We'll just pull out in front. We all just truck and trailer. Let's chase them down, whatever happens. But it was so funny. And I just still, even today, this spring, I was on the river with that same guy, and I just told him about that. It's like, oh yeah, I remember you were trying to get over there.
Did he say why he couldn't make it? Was his angle off, or he just wasn't pushing hard enough?
Didn't make the move early enough.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, it's just one of those things. Sometimes you misread the current, and that's the thing. It's like, typically when you're running, the bigger the whitewater, there's plan A, plan B, and then there's just whatever happens, we're going to react to it.
Yep.
And then also the beautiful thing about that is that the more intense the whitewater, the more compassion and camaraderie there is. Where even commercially, I remember when I was a younger river guide, when we were running really big whitewater, and I had mentioned this earlier to another person on a different podcast, but it was like really one of those things, is that in the river community, the gnarlier the whitewater, the more that group sticks together. No matter what, like I was just referencing the point that we compete for their their booking and their attention in town. But once we're out here on the river, we're all together.
Yeah.
And the old timer that kind of cleared it up for me, he's just kind of like, yeah, out here, it's either I'm pulling you out of the water one day or you're pulling my guests out of the water the next. But it's all about just going down the river.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the thing. It's like, yep, the river is the equalizer, and just get out there and enjoy it.
I love that.
Yeah, and that's really how people should be on the river. I feel so like put off when people are very like in it for themselves, and you can see that somebody needs some kind of assistance and they're just like, nope, not going to put myself at risk to...
Yeah. The camping dynamics are something that is like, now that I don't commercially guide, and I try and find little nooks and crannies to camp in that I never would have stopped at. And of course the river is ever changing, so there's always new beaches that form, and it's like, hey, we've never stopped here, but this looks like we can put a couple tents in a kitchen here. Let's just stop here.
Yeah, that's cool.
And and it's just kind of like, people get so set on the fact that like, I do the Lower Rogue and I camp here and I camp there and I camp there. And it's like, well, no, you're not really...
Explore.
Yeah, you're missing out on so much.
You may not be able to camp there, or there, and that's what I've noticed kind of through the years. That area from Blossom down has gotten so much more congested on camping, because down there, you're catching everybody that's on a 3-day, 4-day, 5-day, or jet boat at access. So now you have way more competition for the same number of camps. And now almost it doesn't even matter when you get downriver. It's like, you may get a spot, or you may just have to push another 7 miles.
You may end up somewhere in Floridel Canyon on a rock.
Yep. I actually, I retell this story quite often, that we came through Blossom. We were through Blossom at, I checked my watch, and it was 11:30. We came out of Blossom at 11:30, and I was like, all right. So the only beach that we passed, the only campsite that we passed, was the little ski slope over on the right side, just below the staircase there.
Okay.
And that was it. And then we passed up Paradise, and then we floated down past Paradise, and then we were like, all right, well, maybe we'll float a little further and we'll start looking. So from Paradise down, everything, every little nook and cranny, if it was flat enough for 4 people to lay down, it had people in it.
So do you ever just be like, all right, move over, there's nowhere else, can we camp with you?
If it's getting late enough in the day,
maybe, but I'm typically like, I'll find a flat spot, a nook, or something to camp in. But that was the thing. We camped at Floridel Creek.
Which is a beautiful camp.
It's an awesome camp. I pulled in there, and my wife and a friend of ours looked at me like, what are you thinking? I'm like, no, don't worry. It might be a little hard to tie up here, but the camp is great. And then we were there really early. We went up and hiked up to the falls and just sat at the falls and had like a 2-hour lunch before we even set anything up. Cool. And it was just like one of those things where like, you got a deal. You're going to camp somewhere, hopefully it's not at the takeout, but that has happened too sometimes.
You got to do what you got to do.
Stay flexible.
Yeah.
I camped probably, about 2 miles from the takeout before. With a trip with my brothers, because it was just like, we were going downriver and we passed a couple places, and they're like, oh, are we camping? I'm like, yeah, well, we need to find some place. It was like, just kept.
Battery died, because of course it did. Out here trying to be all professional in the wild, and the universe said, nah, brah, take 5. Anyway, fresh battery in, still yapping. Now let's see if you can switch gears and pick up on our next tangent.
The whole time they were there, it was just like entertainment, because the crews were coming up and stuff. And not only that, but he also told me this story about how he's like, it was really cool because I bought gas. I didn't have to go into Powers. I just bought gas from the tankers. And I'm like, of course you did. You would just stop and be like, hey, you selling to anybody?
Yeah.
They're like, anybody.
Yeah.
He's all, yeah, it was like $5.29 a gallon. Little high, but saved me a bunch of money than 35 miles down the way.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gas is right here. We'll
Help
take
them
it.
out. Are we
Yeah.
on? Are we recording?
Yep, we're on.
Cool.
Let me double check. Double checked.
Don't send us away.
I know.
Cool. Do you have, I mean, you've told lots of stories of being outside and amazing changing experiences. Do you have like one pivotal outdoor experience that changed the trajectory of your life, or is like the most memorable time that you had outside in your favorite place?
I mean, I think as any river runner, you know, you have some of those trips that really stand out, and I would have to say that doing the trip on the Colorado down through the Grand is just, you know, it's a must-do. It's a must-do for any of us that have this passion. And you know, Middle Fork of the Salmon, you know, just some of those trips where, like, doing the trip on the Grand and spending 18 to 24 days is something that I reference as it's floating communal living. And that was something that literally, like, well, on that trip, I had talked to some of the folks on the group that were on the Grand with us, and they were just kind of like, I told them about, you know, that we're an actual commune now, and they were like, towards the end of the trip, they were kind of like, when you first told me that, I didn't really understand what you're saying.
Did they have like an adverse reaction?
But now they're kind of like, I get it.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that you literally have to just share everything with somebody for, you know, you're sharing everything with those 16 people for 18 days. You know, and it's just like,
You better like them.
So yeah, and it's like one of those things is like, I realize that, you know, now it's just kind of like, I want to be able to go back there with my kids that are, you know, these young adults that still love to do river rafting. You know, I mean, it just makes me so entertained where my children fight over who runs what raft. You know, where it's like, I'm gonna run a raft and you guys can decide who's gonna run the other one. But you know, it's like one of those things where, like, I never pushed them into being river runners, but of course we took them on the river all the time, and now they both, you know, basically can run their rafts themselves. And my oldest is a whitewater sup paddler. I mean, he's probably run top to bottom on the lower Rogue, you know, at least 6-8 times.
Cool.
On a stand-up paddleboard. And
We need to get him on.
yeah, and you know, and then my youngest, he went down the Illinois when my wife was pregnant with him.
Wow.
And here, 26 years later, he finally got to actually raft it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Was he
awesome.
like, I feel like I feel this?
Yeah, when you asked what's my first water experience.
I told him, you know, the last time you were here, you were in your mom's stomach.
Yeah.
But no, he was super stoked. Where he's kind of moved back to the valley. He was living in LA and just kind of, you know, he loves the river and he loves doing the things that he's able to do here. And so it was kind of like, it was great to kind of have a spring with him because he got to see a lot of rivers that he didn't ever get a chance to do. And, you know, running bigger water with your dad is kind of one of those things. And actually, you know, making an error in subhole and putting your dad in the river is like, you know, that's just part of it.
Were you so proud of him?
I was just like, the buddy that was on the trip, he was laughing hysterically. And I was like, I wasn't actually a swimmer, but we hit the wall on the right side so hard that my entire body was in the water, even though my legs were still in the boat.
Ooh.
And I was like, I need to let go because that's going to hurt my knees.
Yeah.
If I did. And I was like, so I never was fully detached, but had to roll into the boat, into the river. And I was like, hey, come grab me, pull me back up. But yeah, you know, I mean, I think those are some of those things is like now just sharing the river with, you know, with my kids and, you know, kind of getting out there and enjoying as much of it as I can. the biggest challenge as a business owner is being able to say, yeah, I think it'll be okay. I'm going to go away for 6 days.
Yeah.
That's
hard.
That's tough.
That you have a team that you trust that you can
Yeah, exactly.
walk
And
away for a
my
bit.
dad actually, shared something with me that I don't even think he remembers telling me, but it really kind of stuck with me, is that at one point he told me, he said, there's 2 things in this world you can't explain to somebody that isn't experiencing them. And he said, one is being a parent, and the other is being a business owner. Mm-hmm. And if someone has not been in those shoes or is not in those shoes, they don't really know what you're going through. Mm-hmm. And I'm like,
I can fully concur with that.
I'm like, I think I understand, and it's like, and my dad was one of these people that, like, he never took vacations because he was a small business owner. Like, he was literally like, there was no days off. I mean, it was on all the time. And,
What did he have? Did you mention that?
Pole
so he built
Okay.
pole barns and pole fences and actually ended up building pole furniture.
Okay.
So a lot of the furniture, if you go into Taylor Sausage and King Junction, like all that furniture is
your dad?
Kauffman furniture. Like that was,
Awesome.
He built all that. And then, just some of the all around kind of the Illinois Valley and around the Grass Pass area, he built furniture, and pole barns and that kind of thing. But
That's awesome.
But yeah, it was just kind of one of those things. And so like in the later years while they were still in business, like that was kind of the little vacation getaway for my parents, is that they would just go deliver furniture. They'd drive to Tahoe, and I would get calls from my parents, and it's like, it's the middle of the winter and you're in Tahoe with the furniture truck? What? They're like, yeah, we're going to stay over because look at
we're snowed in.
The pass is closed.
Circumstantial vacations where
I'm
you're
just like,
off for
all
work.
right, okay, I guess so. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Is like, just the way I was growing up just kind of shaped the way that my life has been, and I'm just trying to do the best for my kids and dealing with aging parents. I mean, my wife and I have parents that are in their late 80s, early 90s, both of them, and so it's just kind of like it's this trifecta piece of just, getting old is not easy.
Yep.
It's tough. It's tough for folks, and it's just like, technology is not easy for old folks. It's just, it's not. I mean,
Not easy for young folks.
yeah, it's like it's such a big demographic. It just blows my mind that nobody has really capitalized on making a cell phone that is easy, simple as simple could be for people to use, because elder people struggle with that. And it's a huge market if somebody could really figure it out, where it was actually something that was easy, but everything is like moved into this tech and app thing where it's like,
Well, nobody wants to do it because there's no growth in it.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
All that
Other than that, everybody ages.
yeah, everybody will age out.
As they age, everybody wants things to be simplified, because we realize that all the technicalities are not actually making our lives any easier. And part of the joy of aging is moving towards simplicity. Easier, less, just being more and doing less.
Analog.
Absolutely.
And returning to that.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm surprised when like older folks are having a hard time with technology, because they've been around the whole time that technology has existed.
Right.
So sometimes in my mind, I'm like, but they've seen it from inception, and wouldn't they be able to go with the transitions? But also, once you find something that you're able to use, you get hooked into that. And even just like an iPhone from one generation to the next is different.
Yeah, I try to coach my mom and dad when they got their smartphones, like, 10 years ago. I'm like, buy an iPhone because that's what I use, and I can show you how to use it. What they do, they went and got a Samsung, of course. And then I had to teach my mom how to send an email literally last week.
Yeah.
And I was like, she was having a mental breakdown about it. And I'm like,
my wife does a lot of FaceTime. FaceTime, share your screen.
Yeah.
FaceTime, share your screen. Show me. No, don't point the phone at your ear.
Yeah.
I need you to point the phone phone what we're talking about.
My dad was an anomaly because he loved it. He would new iPhone would come out and he'd go into all the updates and all the details and he'd teach me how to use the new phone. But then my mom, on the other hand, I'll go to visit her and she'll have a list of, okay, I need you to show me how to do these 10 things on my phone. And
oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, one of the episodes that just dropped with us is we interviewed this company called On Water Apps, and they make a river runner app for NRS called Paddleways, and then they also make On Water Fish, and they have mapped every waterway in the U.S.
Cool.
And it's all in an app.
Wow.
And it's like, so you can go in there and start basically putting in start points, end points, changes. River guides can use it for their log. I mean, it's like, wow, like that is probably a piece of technology that could be quite useful. And then while I'm doing this interview with him, this fire has blown up on the road, right? And he's like, yeah, actually, ironically, last week we just got an updated, so now it actually tells you all of the wildfire activity on a river that you're planning to go on as well.
I love this.
Because this is the thing, like, right, all that data is just out there, and so it's just like, it's ever changing. And and so like one of the things I was trying to actually email him or call him while I was driving out here, just dictating to my phone to call while I'm driving.
Because you're a safe driver.
Because I'm a safe driver, of course, and it wouldn't pick him up because I couldn't find him in my contacts. But one of the things I want to connect up with him is that when I did the interview with the State Marine Board, there are all of these life jacket locations that are voluntarily life jacket locations on all these riverways, and I'm kind of like just going, I want to at least ask him, like, if you don't have that pinged yet in your app, you should definitely put that in there, because we went paddling on the Willamette a couple weeks ago, and I brought life jackets for everybody. I had brought plenty of life jackets for every single craft that we had, so anybody could have a life jacket for us. And one of the gals that came to paddle with us, she showed up with a life jacket on, and I was like, "Oh, cool! Wow, she brought a life jacket. She was planning on this, but she didn't bring her life jacket. She just grabbed one off the rack,
from the loaner station.
And she's like, so after we get done, I give it to him, like, "Hey, here's your life jackets back." She's like, "Oh yeah, I'll get that returned this afternoon. It came off that rack when we started." I was like, "Oh wow,
wow,
that's cool."
Cool. You just basically
a little life jacket library.
Just grab one. Yeah, exactly.
Good to see it in use.
So yeah, it's just amazing. Cool. But I think that's something where, like, if that app isn't listing that stuff already, it should definitely list that stuff. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you knew there was a life jacket there, then you wouldn't second guess taking, your family there if you needed a life jacket. And I mean, this one in Independence, Oregon, on the Willamette, I mean, it had kid jackets. It had tiny kid jackets. And we were telling some of one of the kids' cousins, and like, you want to go on the river? There's a life jacket for your kid right here. I mean, you don't have to
and
buy
it's
one.
Unmonitored, right? It's just
unmonitored. It's like
loyal, whatever trust system.
It's a trust system, totally. The State Marine Board is the ones that know where they all are. 'Cause I think the program is through the State Marine Board.
Yeah.
But it's run by some local entity in that town. So a lot of times it's fire departments that put them in, or park service that puts them in, or county park that puts them in. And it's like great thing. I mean, you might as well.
That kind of leads me into our one question that we ask people, and it's the gear question.
Yeah.
We always ask, like, what is your most used favorite piece of gear that you always have with you?
Well, at this point in my adventure life, the most used, trusted piece of equipment that I always have with me is that thing right there.
Your cell phone.
I always have a phone.
I thought you were going to say your reader glasses.
Well, yeah, I have to have these to see that. So I have this for sure, so I can see that. But now that like the iPhone has the SOS texting, but it's my media center.
Yeah.
Right. So if I go on an adventure, I'm going to document it. I mean, I post socially, I post professionally. I generate content for my company, myself, my family. I mean, it's like, that's how my mom knows what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right.
She follows everything I need. The algorithms send my mom like competitors' paddle information and stuff because they think, man, this lady must be quite a paddler because she's all over that Sawyer Paddle and Oar page. And so that's the thing. I mean, I think as far as
you get the competitors' updates from your mom.
Right. But that's it. I mean, technology is like kind of like, yeah, I try and keep on top of the phone.
Who else said that this is their
and
most
it's just like, because it's one of those things. It's like, I don't do a trip without taking it. And I take it because I use it for camera, if nothing else. And usually I'm just like, but like, I admit it, I set alarm clocks on the river sometimes because I just like, I have to because I sleep very peaceful on the river. And it's like, sometimes I have to just set an alarm so that I do get up, especially if we want to get up and move somewhere early. Like, I'm not just going to wake up and be ready to go at 6:30 and when I'm on a river trip.
Multi-use gear.
Yeah, so it's just like, I'll just set an alarm and I don't mind it, But also, I like to be able to wake up and kind of say, oh, okay, wow, it is, it's 7:30 and nobody else is up in camp, and get up and wander around and take some morning pictures, and just kind of the river morning pictures are kind of nice to get, So yeah, it's kind of like it's all there.
It's all there.
And,
do you keep maps downloaded on it? So river maps, not like Google Maps.
I don't keep a lot of river maps because I find that really it hasn't quite got to the point where it replaces having the river book, the river map book of if you're going to go do a river that you haven't ever been on. I mean, there's just nothing that replaces that.
Right.
Just having the waterproof page books and just
stick together.
Roll through it, try to follow it backwards. It's like, okay, we're going up the page and we got to be kind of right here. So there's something about that. And also, it's like if you're going to go run a river that you've never done and it's a multi-day river, you should buy a river map of it, but I mean, the On-Water app thing, I think if you actually get the paid subscription, which is I think like $4.99 a month, I think all that stuff is in there. And, that's pretty interesting because I didn't really think that was going to be something that I would really find, because the fishing element one has been around for a while, because when I was guiding, I used to submit fishing reports to an app similar to that, which would basically just give you kind of reports on every river system you were going to go fish, or every waterway that you were going to go fish. And if you fished a certain stretch of river, this was our stretch of river that we fished all the time, is we would give our weekly report of this riverway for the steelhead season. And I mean, it's definitely there's a lot of information in there. So
That's awesome.
Cool. If people want to find you and learn more about you, Zac, or Sawyer, or the Sawyer on Water podcast, where could they do that?
Pretty much you can find everything related to us at paddlesandoars.com or sawyerstation.com. Paddlesandoars.com is pretty much our main parent company, and sawyerstation.com is our flagship store in Gold Hill, Oregon. And, if you follow the lead of the folks from public television that wanted to find us, just do a search and call the station.
If you Google Sawyer, what comes up is...
But if you Google paddles and oars, we pop up pretty close to the top.
Got that SEO dialed in.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and you can easily find me through that. I mean, I'm tied to every posting and everything related to Sawyer.
Do you have a personal Instagram page or anything?
I do. On Water Zac.
On Water Zac. Is that also the podcast Instagram, or is that just your personal one?
Podcast does not have its own Instagram.
Okay.
So the podcast is basically just hosted on Apple and Spotify and YouTube. So if folks want to find the podcast, they just go to paddlesandoars.com. It's listed right there. There's actually right now, there's a banner at the top of the page. So you can just click on the banner and it'll take you to the latest version of the podcast. And I think we just released episode 16.
Cool.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
so yeah. And, we're just trying to key up plenty more to have them in there, I mean, I think we're dealing with the same stuff. It's just trying to get as much content, keyed up as we can so we can work on it as we go.
And you can take some breaks.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's just like try and get as much in as you can.
Because it is its own work.
Yeah, I think I did. I think my my record is 3 in 1 week.
Wow, cool.
Nice.
I just did 3 interviews in 1 week because they were basically all lined up. They were all around. They were all around the filming of the All Access because I had
Everybody
Link coming to town just for that. I was like, hey, before you leave, can we go first thing in the morning? Go out and we'll just jam out one of these little episodes. He's like, what is this all about? I'm like, don't you worry.
You'll find out. You're gonna love
just
it.
get in the
Don't
boat.
worry.
You're fine.
Yeah.
You and we bullshit just fine. Don't worry about it. I'll answer questions.
Exactly.
But the biggest thing I notice is not everybody is used to R2 paddling.
Yeah.
And I've used R2 paddling because it's such the greatest cinematography setup. Like I've even taken fishing guides and I'm like, I know this is not your forte, but this is what frames us both in the frame equally. And
We've had some.
So I'm working with
trials.
working with the folks at Willie Boats because they have some bracketings that mount on the edge of the drift boat.
Cool.
And also kind of hoping that they will let me have a boat just to use for podcasts, and then I can give it back to them.
Cool.
You know,
Yeah, that's
my
legit.
drift boat is a 1990, so it's looking a little beat up.
Well, we do have one last question, and that is when you leave this earth and expire, what do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered as a good father, a good husband, a good friend, and the adventure guy.
The adventure guy. I love that.
You know, my kid told me the other day I told him that I'd lost some weight recently and I was in much better health now than I was when I was 20 years younger.
Congratulations.
And he's like, no, I don't think so, Dad. Because when I was growing up, you were Superman. And I'm like, yeah, well, you're the kid. So, of course, we would expect that, I guess, as your
Hope
father.
for that,
But yeah, you know, I mean, try and make life as fun as possible.
For as long as possible.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Thanks
Check
for
out their
having me.
podcast,
Yeah, you
Sawyer
bet.
on Water. And then check us out on everywhere you listen to the podcast, your favorite podcast. We're there. Just got to look up Go Wildly Podcast.
Yeah.
And give us a
excellent.
like and comment and share it with a friend and do all the things, please. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For us
Yeah.
and for Sawyer.
Yes, we're
Yeah.
cross-pollinating.
That's right. That's
Ooh,
right.
That's what it's all about.
Get the cross-pollination flowing.
Yes.
Once you watch this, if you haven't seen it yet, go on over to Sawyer and watch the other episode with them.
Yeah.
Nice little convergence of 2 independent streams, and now
And
we
absolutely,
are one
it was
river.
amazing.
Crossing streams.
Amazing how many people we have in common that we know.
Yeah.
You know, that is
I think
why.
we'll have to schedule like a year update.
Right.
Let's do that.
Exactly. There you
Let's come
go.
back
There you
in
go. We'll do
year
a
and
follow-up
we'll do
in a year.
follow-up. See when
And
things
maybe we can coordinate, like, okay, you're going to interview Will this day. You'll have him in the morning. We'll take him in the afternoon.
there you
or
go,
something.
there you
We
go,
can
there
do
you
some
go.
like collab on the same people in the same place.
Perfect.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much
That'd be really
again.
cool.
Because that's the thing, like, you know, it's like when you start trying to book people for venues, like that's
All right, Wildly Wonders, that's a wrap. Thank you for hanging out with us on the Go Wildly podcast. Seriously, your ears, your energy, your vibe, they mean the world. And hey, the pod is usually going to drop on Mondays. But let's be real, sometimes it's Tuesday, and sometimes life be lifin', and the river calls louder than our calendar, baby. We out there adventuring. Either way, we'll show up in your feed with stories that make you want to lace up your boots or paddle out. So please go ahead and do all the things: like, share, comment, subscribe, smash the buttons, click all the bells, throw us a bone on YouTube, and come play with us on socials. That's how our little adventure family grows. Now quit staring at your phone or whatever you're doing and go jump in a river, touch a tree, climb a tree, howl at the moon, or whatever gets you out there. Until next time, stay feral, stay curious, and for the love of dirt, go wildly. We're going to meet you out there. Toodaloo.